And welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, here back with another huge episode discussing all the fallout of another huge week from the NBA. It has been nothing but frenetic, as I say, week in and week out from start to finish. And now we're a couple of weeks in, we're starting to get a much clearer picture of the lay of the land, who's overachieving, who's underachieving. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to kind of give my thoughts on that, brief thoughts on that today. About some of the teams who are either, as I said, underperforming, overperforming, and if I think that'll continue or not. Before we get into that, though, I do have some quick odds and ends to rip through. But even prior to that, I just want to shout out both Stadium Scene and The Cover, both those networks continuing to showcase all of my work here at the Daily Dribble, as well as a whole host of other content creators in and around Australia, New Zealand, the US, and Canada. Really appreciate all their continued hard work and support. Likewise, appreciate all the support you guys are continuing to show. You may have noticed recently, I've been going on to TikTok Live quite a little bit more lately, trying to do almost daily recaps of the day's NBA action. So if you're not already, go follow the TikTok account, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, across all the platforms. Really appreciate the support and all the continued conversations I've got to have with you guys this week. Okay, let's get into some quick odds and ends. Now, it happened just after, pretty much after recording last week's episode. The Magic were dealt a huge blow with Paolo Banchero going down with a torn right oblique. Now, he's going to be reevaluated in 4 to 6 weeks and will return to play based on how he responds to treatment there. Now, he was having a fantastic start to the season, averaging 29 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and had guided the Magic to a 3-2 start to the season. They've certainly got a lot of work to do without him. You can already see in the games this week that they've struggled to have that offensive go-to guy. Franz Wagner's tried to step up, Suggs as well, but they are certainly missing their franchise player there. And as I said, it's less than ideal timing given the way he'd started the season, but he's hoping for a speedy recovery for him and that he can pick up right where he left off. News has come out that Giannis could force his way out of Milwaukee in the next year or so. As I said, according to reports, his preferred trade destination is either Miami or Brooklyn at this point in time. The San Antonio Spurs are also rumored there as well. How would you feel about Giannis joining one of these teams? Brooklyn, Miami, or Spurs? As I said, the 3 front runners at the moment. I personally think this is exactly what Miami need. A clear number 1 guy who is going to score night in and night out. At the moment, it's kind of done by committee. Rozier, Butler, Bam, Hero. There's no clear number 1 guy. Giannis could be that and then some. I could certainly imagine him cruising, living life down on South Beach. I personally think this is a match made in heaven. What do you guys think? Is that where you'd like to see Giannis end up? Do you think he stays in Milwaukee, tries to build something there? Again, there's disgruntled reports that he had a crack at Darvin Ham during the week about some of the players that had been drawn up, saying that he was almost cancerous, that he'd taken a losing mentality from the Lakers over to Milwaukee. Certainly a lot of issues brewing there in Milwaukee at the moment. They currently only 1 win on the season. Something certainly has to change and quickly. Pacers big man Isaiah Jackson has sustained a torn right Achilles tendon. After James Wiseman last week, the Pacers big man stocks are in serious strife at the moment. Now, he averaged 6.5 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 block per game in 13 minutes a night across last season. It's a big blow, just as I said, because it really depletes their big man stocks alongside Wiseman. They're going to have to really tread carefully now with Miles Turner in particular. Siakam there if they go a smaller ball 5. There's not a lot of depth in that position for them at the moment. So I think certainly watch this space. Look at how they kind of manage minutes there. I expect these guys to play big minutes, given that there's little depth in that position. But we certainly don't want to see those guys breaking down. They carry a lot of the weight for the Pacers. And I put up a reel last week just saying how they're, I think, probably falling short of expectations a little bit. Last week didn't install a lot of faith for me in the Pacers. And just off the back of that reel, a lot of you guys felt the same way. Now, with these depleted big man stocks, I'm sure that's doing nothing to sway that opinion. But certainly watch this space and see how the Pacers evolve without their big men. DJ Augustine has announced his retirement from basketball after 14 seasons within the NBA. Across his career, he averaged 9.5 points, 4 assists per game, played across multiple teams, but most well known for his time with the Orlando Magic and the Charlotte Hornets there. Certainly a phenomenal career, a really high-level role player. Doesn't get a lot of credit for what he actually did, but he was able to really just ignite that second unit for quite a lot of franchises that he was on. Wasn't a huge household name, but went about his business really nicely. And phenomenal career. Just shows that you can have a great career in the NBA without having to be a star player. Across his time, he made about 65 million in the league. So that's a fair bit of coin there. He's done very well for himself and deservedly so. The New York Knicks and two-way center Ariel Hukporti have agreed on a standard 2-year NBA contract. Now, he's a former product of the NBL with Melbourne United there. We're very fortunate to see him in action multiple times in his stint over here in Australia. But with the loss of Isaiah Hartenstein and injury to Mitchell Robinson, he's getting an opportunity. He's getting minutes, and he's going to play a part of their rotation going forward until these guys come back. Robinson coming back, should I say. Hartenstein, he ain't coming back. But what I love is, again, it's just another great example of what a fantastic pathway the NBL is. It's such a strong, viable pathway now for so many players. The league is going from step to step. The growth is phenomenal and showing no signs of slowing down. And as I said, the names, we saw Jack McVay earlier today. He made his debut for the Houston Rockets in their blowout win over the Spurs. Again, another product of the NBL, of the Tassie Jack Jumpers last season. It's phenomenal, the talent that is running through the NBA that has made that transition now. And again, I don't think it's going to show any signs of slowing down. So love to see that. And just finally, on the Denver Nuggets, Aaron Gordon, he's going to miss multiple weeks due to a right calf strain. Now, he's averaged 15.5 points, tick under 7 rebounds, and 3 assists across the early part of this season. He's going to be sorely missed for the Nuggets. Now, I think Michael Porter Jr., he's the guy that really needs to step up. I think in this time, especially while Gordon's out, he needs to elevate and become a 20 points per game scorer. That's going to be huge for the Nuggets to be successful moving forward. I think for him, getting to the free throw line is what's going to help him. He takes less than 2 attempts per game. And for a guy of his size, of his ability, those numbers have to go up and have to go up dramatically, I think. If he can add that kind of bow to his game, it'll certainly help him and it'll certainly help the Nuggets. Because at the moment, Nikola Jokic is a one-man wrecking ball, but it's not sustainable. He needs some support, and I think MPJ is the guy who has to step up in Gordon's absence. Okay, guys, there rattles off odds and ends. Let's push ahead.
Daily Dribble.
Okay, this is going to be a pretty quick segment called Overachievers and Underachievers, as teams with records that are either better or worse than we expected, and how I think they'll actually pan out. Will they straighten out moving forward for better or worse? So it'll make sense momentarily when I get into it, but would love to hear your thoughts on teams that have been overperforming or underperforming. Hit me up on all the socials, guys. Would love to hear your thoughts. The first team that stood out to me, they are just about, at the time of recording, okay, no, they have officially gone down to the Clippers. Philly now sit 1-6 on the season. I tell you what, it's just, okay, granted they're waiting on Embiid to come back. Paul George came back during the week. He came back in their narrow loss to the Phoenix Suns. That would have been on, what are we today? That would have been Tuesday, I believe. It's 1-6. It's not great. And I've spoken about the talent that the East, possesses this season. I think it's going to be quite difficult for them to probably record home court advantage now, I think. I think for them at the moment, making the playoffs is going to be a win. I certainly do we're expecting Joel Embiid back in the next week. But I feel like quite a lot of damage has been done already. They're going to have their work really cut out for them to make back some of these losses. If they potentially find themselves at, 1-8 or 2-9 when Embiid comes back, That is quite a lot of ground to make up. I personally think they will be able to. I think once Embiid comes back and with George, the way Max is playing as well, I think there's enough talent there to get them back on the straight and narrow. I worry that they're not going to be. I don't think they're going to be sniffing home court advantage now. I don't see them finishing in the top four just based on what we've seen and how much ground they're going to have to make up. But I do think they will rectify things and rectify them pretty quickly once Embiid's back in the fold. Staying in the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, they sit at 9-0 on the season. Pardon me. They remain the only undefeated team in the league after OKC went down to Denver earlier today. I tell you what, I wouldn't have picked this in a million years. Now, it brings the question, are the Cavs that good? I think they're a really, really solid team. I don't think they're a 9-0 team. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, they've all been, I would say, better than average, but they've also had quite low lights as well. Yet they just find a way to continue to rattle off wins. I think Jarrett Allen's been a huge part of that. I think they're going to pretty quickly come back to earth. I think this hot start is absolutely tremendous. They deserve all the praise in the world. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think they're a top team in the East. I think they'll start to regress and find their medium a little bit more. I see them more in that probably 6, 7, 8 range within the East. Given the way they've started, though, they've got quite a lot of ground on those other teams in that play-in area. So it bodes really well for them moving forward, I think. But, yeah, I don't think that is sustainable for them. The next team I had written down were the New Orleans Pelicans. They sit 3-6 on the season, currently languishing in 14th in the West there. I tell you what, I'm thinking of them, maybe the Grizzlies. Not many more teams have been hit harder by injury than what the Pels have. DeJounte Murray going down in the opening game, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum, Zion's missed time as well. Like, their backs have really well and truly been up against the wall. That being said, I still have faith in this team. I think they're considerably better than what their record suggests at the moment. Getting a couple of these guys back at least will certainly, I think, help turn their fortunes around. I think, if memory serves correctly, I think I predicted them for a third place finish in the Western standings this season, heading into it. That's certainly not looking great at this point in time. There's still plenty of games. There's 70-plus games to go. They've got plenty of time to rectify things. 3-6 start doesn't bode well, but they are a team I feel confident in that will start to turn things around as these bodies get back on the court. The Memphis Grizzlies, they got a pretty comprehensive win over the Lakers today to take their season to 5-4. Now, I caught quite a lot of flack for this. I must be one of the world's biggest Grizzlies haters. I'm not a hater. I just don't believe in them. Now, them 5-4 on the season, I predicted them for a 12th place finish this season. I still think they're probably in and around that mark, maybe a little bit better, maybe a 10th to 11th. I personally still don't think the Grizzlies are that good. Now, they were missing players today. They were missing Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane. The Lakers missing AD, Rui. Still Vanderbilt on the sidelines as well. It was a pretty impressive performance, but I just don't think I can buy into them just yet. At the moment, they've got an incredible offensive rating. They're putting up nearly 119 points per game, giving up 115, so still in the positives, which is more than fine. But I don't know. I don't think what they're doing at the minute is sustainable. I think their depth has been performing, but I don't have a lot of faith in it. So I think they'll start to regress somewhat as some of these other teams, the Pelicans, the Clippers, the Lakers, they start to kind of iron out their rosters a little bit more, start to imprint themselves in the season. I think the Grizz will start to slip back down and fall into where I expected them to be. The next team I had was the Golden State Warriors. They sit at the moment equal first, effectively third in the standings, but with a 7-1 record. Now, I'm completely and utterly on board with this side. I think what they're doing is phenomenal. I love the acquisition. Buddy Hield has been an absolute standout. I think they did a fantastic job of keeping things afloat while Steph was on the sidelines. Now that he's back this week, they got a resounding win today over the Boston Celtics. I think this was almost a bit of a statement game. Now, before today, their record sat at 6-1. People were liking what they were seeing, but they weren't really buying into the Warriors as a title contender. I personally think that their victory today solidifies them as a team that needs to be seriously talked about. They've got the starting talent there, Wiggins, Curry, depending if you go Kuminga, Draymond Green, plenty of talent there. Being able to bring players like Kyle Anderson, DeAnthony Melton, Buddy Hield off the bench, Moses Moody. They've got enough depth to really contend, but also having the top-level talent as well. So they are a team that I'm certainly buying into, and I think a lot of people over the next week or so, I think they'll start to become believers as well. They've got a tough couple of games slate coming up to the Warriors, so I think that's kind of going to either, in people's minds, confirm or deny where they sit as title contenders. Coming up, they've got Cleveland, OKC, and Dallas in their next 3 games, so I think that'll really kind of iron out where they're actually at in the hierarchy of the league. Guys, there you have it. There was a very quick kind of rip through of teams that I think are either overachieving or underachieving. And if I think they'll either regress to the mean or if they'll continue to plod on with these fantastic performances thus far. Okay, let's move ahead to my MVP of the week.
The Daily Dribble.
Okay, so my MVP of the week goes to a man that's sitting on a team that's currently top of the Western Conference standings, riding a 6-game win streak, 7-1 on the season, are the Phoenix Suns. My MVP of the week is Kevin Durant. Now, at 36 years old, he's still looking like one of the best players in the world, undoubtedly. In their victory the other day over the 76ers, 118-116, he dropped 35 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and went 14 of 20 from the field. I don't want to say single-handedly, but was actually, let's go. Single-handedly was the reason they won that game. His ability to take over in the clutch, hit tough buckets, and make things happen. They were in a hole. They probably didn't deserve to win this game, but thanks to KD, they got over the line by 2 points out. Likewise today against the Miami Heat in a 115-112 win, he dropped 32 points, 8 rebounds, and again had clutch buckets late in the stretch. You know, you're playing alongside a guy in Devin Booker who, this has been his team longer than anyone. This is his franchise. Yet KD's the guy that you want. You want the ball in his hand when it's crunch time, and he has certainly been living up to that hype so far, over this last week in particular. He's averaging 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 3.5 assists across the season. This is the version of KD that the Suns need, I think, if they want to be a serious title contender, which is what they're looking like at the minute. As I said, 7-1, it is fantastic. Now, Bill and Booker, I think, need to be good for them to be successful, but KD needs to continue to be that guy who is the number one, who gets the ball in his hands in the final possessions, the final minute or two. He's the guy you play through. Now, if the double team comes, it's such a luxury that you've got a player like Bradley Beal or Devin Booker in the ranks as well. But I would be getting the ball to KD at any and every opportunity if I was on the Phoenix Suns. Time and time again, he has delivered in the big moments, and this week's been no exception. So, therefore, partly due to what the Suns are doing at 7-1, top of the West, but KD certainly warrants my MVP of the week. Guys, there you have it. There's another episode in the books. Again, it's been a fantastic week. I certainly appreciate all the continued support. If you haven't had enough of my voice already, be sure to follow my TikTok account, the Daily Dribble there. Going live every day to every second day, trying to do every day when possible. Just going through and giving a bit of a 20 to 30 minute daily recap of the events from the NBA. Getting you guys to jump in as well, engage with me, getting to speak to you. I'm loving doing that. So be sure to go check that one out if you haven't already. Till next week, though, guys, have a fantastic week. Enjoy another stellar week of basketball from both the NBA and the NBL. And I look forward to speaking to you all again very, very soon. Till then, remember, be good at it. See you guys.